We'll call the Committee of the Whole meeting, special meeting for Wednesday, October 30th to order. Please call the roll.
Alderman Strelchek,
I'm here and I've been waiting in my seat. Just thought I'd let you know.
Alderman Talaco,
Here.
Alderman Meyer, Alderman Hancher is excused, Alderman Bach,
Here.
Alderman Parrish,
Here.
Alderman Bratt,
Here.
Alderman Gebhardt, and Mayor Nurbin.
Here. Our first and only item is a discussion item regarding the review of a proposed request for qualifications for a civic campus master plan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. We wanted to present the draft RFQ to the Council just because of the variety of uses that are in the campus, because of our strategic plan, as well as the strategic meeting we had earlier this year, and a number of public, benefits, activities, facilities that are being contemplated. The request is ready to go out after any edits or additions that the council has at the end of this week. We do have a current solicitation list for consultants, and it'll also be listed on the city website for access. The timeline then would be to get proposals back later in November, and then award the contract at the December Common Council meeting. The funding for the work is coming from ARPA funding that was authorized, or the concept of this was authorized last year about this time, and is one of the objectives tied to the city's strategic plan under quality of life. Then we would kick off the project early next year in 2025, hopefully right away in January, and then look for project completion through summer of 2025. So we just wanted to give everybody on the council an opportunity to review the document, and if you have any questions, interests, concerns, additions, we're happy to jot those down and get those included before we issue the RFQ.
Thank you. Questions, comments for Director Tollefson? Got the draft of the document in the packet. Alderman Strelchek.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of summarize. Everything here is really thorough and really detailed, and I appreciate everything that you've done. One thing that's not really clear to me, and it seems like a part of it's called out in multiple different areas, is as we're going through and we're analyzing the civic campus plan and we're looking for, the possible uses, there's, what are our asked outcomes? Do we want to know highest and best? Do we want to know most versatile? For me, I want to know an intangible, something like community involvement. Which plan would be best for community engagement and having the community feel like this was their gathering space? I don't feel that was called out really clearly there. And those are the questions that I'll be asking. I don't, mathematically, I care partially on how this works out, but I want to know that the community would be able to come and use the space for things that they would maybe typically use in another community, or, where we've seen greater community engagement. So, we're addressing our costs and then also the usability.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that was always the original intent. I think the park and open space speaks to that. So does the town center plans historically speak to that. So we can add that as an objective of what the ultimate plan needs to be.
Yeah, it'd be great.
If there's consensus,
yeah. Yeah, a call out if the crew feels that they're on board with that. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that would naturally fall under, there's a step mentioned in there about prioritizing uses and layout, and that's a key decision point for sure. Yeah, we want to maximize it, the benefit of it. Just don't want to do it for the sake of doing it, but make it a nice gathering space, attractive. Certainly good goals. Anyone else? Any comments or feedback? Alderman Bratt.
Yeah, I really like this proposal. One thing I would lift up is if there's an opportunity for public feedback during this process. We have so many stakeholders here, not just the user groups, but this is kind of a civic footprint, for lack of a better term. And so even if it's just one public feedback meeting, I think would give the community a lot of voice that they're otherwise going to send through us. So thank you.
Okay, great. We did laundry list civic or city partners general public, but you're right, when we laundry listed who the users might be, that general public comment might get lost in there. So I'll figure out a way to emphasize that.
Thank you.
Alderman Parrish.
Yep, thank you, looks good, Director Tollefson. There's a part that was cut out relating to Renicky. It just says, as a side note, and then there's no description in there. What were your intentions with that paragraph?
And maybe it didn't show up, maybe with,
It says you'll pull from
Yeah.
the MTSD plan.
yes. So, we just didn't finish that section before putting it in the packet, but we wanted to pull from the facilities plans from the Mequon-Thiensville School District.
Okay. Just want to speak, I'm going to try to speak sensitively about this just because I've been contacted by various stakeholders, just curious what's going on with Renicky. And
Yeah.
I indicated that we're at the very beginning of this process. We hadn't even issued the RFP yet, and that there'd be plenty of opportunity for their input. You know, I did express doubt that at the end of this process, after we evaluated all their needs, that there would be room left for Renicky there, but that no decisions have been made whatsoever, and there's plenty of opportunities for input. So I'm just not sure. Is this, do you feel like this is crafted in a way that's going to look at all the different options, like really sit down with the school district and help them evaluate their place on the campus and whether it's not there somewhere else, or what would, I just don't know that pulling from their plan is the right approach here. I think some other description is probably needed to kind of accomplish what we're looking for.
Well, this section was really meant to just give an indication of what the status is of each of those features, either referencing the documents where those activities and uses are acknowledged currently in whatever public institution's, you know, responsibility it is. So like the community park, the city center community park, we just identified that it's the details of it are within the city's park and open space plan. So Renicky, I think we would give a little history about why the field is here and that it's the high school is using it, and then we can reference the high schools or the school district's facilities plan, which documents what intended you know, options there are for it.
Those are really existing sources of data we're going to pull in, then we'll make a decision and there'll be an output. And
Yeah,
decisions on this location might spur decisions we need to make on other locations if there's impacts.
it's kind of like a circular issue just because their current plan doesn't reflect any movement. It's just kind of the status quo. So it's more, I didn't want to like dive into it. It's more just when you flesh this paragraph out, just that the consultants understand the proper scope of work. Thank you.
Any other feedback or comments? Alderman Meyer.
So just quickly, we're just setting this out to get back from different companies to find out what the qualifications are for all the parameters that you put inside of it. The meat and potatoes of all that stuff comes at a later date for it.
Correct.
So we're just gonna take a pool of people that either we send out to or they see our website and they wanna submit something to it. They list all their qualifications on it, and then we get a chance to say, okay, we'll choose this one over here because whatever. And then the rest of all that stuff, like Alderman Parishes and Alderman Strudchek's questions, that comes at a later date when we get all that stuff together.
Right, and we'll have an opportunity once there's a consultant that is selected through this process to negotiate the contract. One of the statements in here too is for any of the proposers to identify any potential flaws to what we've laid out, including cost and whether, you know, all of this can be accomplished, and asking them to identify what potential obstacles there are to complete this. That would be part of our review process, and that'll tee us up nicely for any contract negotiations. So the council will have an opportunity in December to talk about that cost proposal tied to the scope of services, add, delete, and do as we need to before we approve that contract.
Yeah, because those are all good questions they both brought up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that there's a bigger discussion of that at a later date.
Yeah.
Alderman Strelchak.
I'm just going to question that answer as to the depth of it, because I've been on council for some time now, and we've sent out RFQs, but then we've been like, hey, we'd really like to see this. You know, the meat and potatoes is what we see today. In my opinion, I think what we're talking about later is which spices go into the stew. So we can define small things as it relates to the scope of work that the RFP was bid on. So my clarification is that, outcome-based, I wanted that as one of the outcome-based items. One of the outcome-based items I think Alderman Parrish was maybe asking about was, just making sure that validity as they go through that plan, maybe as a clear call out, as they go through that plan, that we identify that is a known hurdle, right? And then if it requires meetings with the school and things like that, that should be in the RFP as far as, time and energy spent on this. What I don't want to do is approve something and then have this come back at a higher dollar amount because we added scope and whatever, and then we're through budget and, into the weeds. Our time to negotiate's now, and our time to state what we want out of this is now. We can get into the fine details and the spices later, but the big meat and potatoes of it, I think we need to. I'm glad we're vetting some of these out now.
Yeah, and I think we have to be realistic about, the $60,000 that we have allocated to get this work done in
Okay.
terms of the scope.
Okay. Not disagreeing with you, Alderman Meyer. Just, making sure that as a council that we're vetting what we can within reason here without getting, tangled in the weeds per se.
I'm sorry, I feel totally offended by that.
Well, you always do. That's why we enjoy each other.
All right, any other feedback from the council? All right.
I'll make some of these edits, and perhaps vet them with the council members who raised the issue, just to make sure I've captured what you'd like. Just know that I'd probably be sending that to you tomorrow. So, and in the meantime, if there's anything else anybody wants to reach out to me about prior to issuing this on Friday, feel free.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Excuse me.
Oh, sure.
Was there any opportunity to request future topics or no?
It's not on the agenda. This is a special meeting.
We'll take
But
it
you
offline.
can-
We'll
you
take it
can-
offline.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can send them to Will and I. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All those in favor of adjournments, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're adjourned, and we will immediately